And now picking up where we left off, let me clean things up here a little bit and get rid of those things right there. And what I want to do is be a little more specific with our imports and say that the things we need to import for our code right here are the ZIO type, which I have right there. So I want to import that ZIO type. We also need to import ZIO app default because we're using that one right there. Those are the two types that we're using. And just to verify that, let me compile and run this again. And actually, I am wrong. We were also using task and UIO. So I am just trying to be clear about something, which you'll see in just a moment. And what I want to do here is clean up this code. So what I did in the previous portions of this videos was I really was just trying to show ZIO.attempt and ZIO.succeed. So what I was doing was imagining that we don't have this type of functionality in the ZIO library. So we didn't have that, and we don't have printline. But the truth is we do have those types of things. And we get those from the console type. So that's why I was changing these imports up here, is because I want to be very clear that the console type comes from the ZIO package right there. So now what we can do is say, I want to get rid of that. And now I can say console, and what we do is we say we print, and we would ask what do I have over here? What's your name? What's your name? Question mark space. And actually that does not return anything, that console right there. And what we would do in this case is we will say console, and we will read line. And then that one is the one that's going to return name. And I like to have my arrows aligned, so that's why I'm doing that right there. So this first line says print, what's your name? The second line says whatever you type in, I want to read that into the name variable right here. And then the third line is going to be console. And then here I would say I want to print line. And then I could say something like hello $name, like that. And everything else should be the same. I don't believe I've made any mistakes. We can get rid of that actually right there and save that. And if I have not made any mistakes, then we can go ahead and do this again. And there we go. So that works. So again, the purpose for this part of this video is I just wanted to show that you don't have to reach back and use the Scala code that I was showing earlier with ZIO.succeed and ZIO.attempt. We actually have a console type that's built in to ZIO, and we can use that right here just like we did. Another thing that might be interesting to show here is, as I mentioned earlier, anytime you're saying and then, you write code like this inside of a for expression. So you say, I want to print something, and then I want to read the user's name, and then I want to print something else, right? So this is one way of writing and then, and I mentioned in the previous video another way you can write and then, which is not very attractive, but it can be done, is you could do that, and then you say, well, and then, so we say the flatMap means and then, so it means print and then. What do we want to do here? Well, we want to read the next line. So we want to read that next line. And then what we want to do is, now we have that name, and now we want to pass that in here. So we want to print, and then we want to read, and then what we want to do is a print again. So if I haven't made any mistakes, I can copy that and put that there and comment that out. So one thing I want to do before I run this is be clear that I haven't written code like this in a while, so I may have a mistake in there. I think I have a mistake in there, actually. I'm pretty sure of that. And there we get an error message, and it's trying to point at console.readline.flatMap. And actually, I do need, when you're working with flatMap, you always have a value that's coming out of there. And that's what I was forgetting right there. So let me save that and then come back here and try that again. I think we'll be okay this time. And let me do that. I think we're having now a Scala CLI artifact. Okay, what I just did while you were away was I just cleaned up the environment here a little bit. I think we were getting a Scala CLI artifact or an error from it. So I just deleted the directories that Scala CLI creates. And then I just started this over again. You can see the error messages go away. So now I just say L there. So when you were seeing that previous error message, that was just something related to Scala CLI. I see that every once in a while, and we just happen to see it right there. Now this is working properly. So again, I was just trying to show that this code right here is the equivalent of this code right here. But as I mentioned in previous videos, humans don't like to read code like this. It's really hard to read after you get all those flat maps going. And code like this tends to be much easier to read. So again, writing code like this is the preferred way to do that. So I'll go ahead and save that and run it again. Just make sure all is well in the world. And there we go. So in summary, what I'd like to say is that I just wanted to change this code to use console. If you recall, when we started, we had ZIO.succeed and ZIO.attempt. And those were wrapped around Scala code that you use to read and write from the console. And I just wanted to show that we have this console type in ZIO, so we don't need to use attempt and succeed as I had shown previously. And then I got into this other code up here as a little bit of an aside, because I was looking at this code and I thought you might be interested in seeing what the flatMap version of that code looks like. So that's why I created this example right here. I hope this has been helpful. And as we go along, you'll see that we use console in the future examples that I'm going to be showing you.